Here in the UK, today, there's 80% of people who hate their job. The reasons that people are suffering their daily job is very often companies fail because they fell in love with their solution or their technology, and they put the technology before the needs of their...
I'm smiling because I've been there.
Yeah.
What does good for profit mean for you?
For me, it is clear it is not sustainable anymore just doing money. I think that that's bad business. That's bad for profit. Inequality, it is the biggest challenge that we have as a society nowadays. We are crying a lot. By helping SMEs, it's by helping in boosting the whole global economy overall. It is just better to live in a more equal society.
That's such a good sales pitch, by the way. Hi.
Hello, Mo. Thanks
Hello,
for having me here.
Welcome along, Rodrigo. It's a pleasure to have you, man. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of research on you, just to kind of understand what you do and everything about you. But also, yeah, I mean, we happened to meet at that event fairly, I think, a couple of months back, let's say.
Yeah.
And I remember we had a great conversation there, and I thought you're someone I'd love to have more of a chat with, given everything that you're working on. So first of all, welcome. To London, I should say.
Thank you.
Not just from LATAM, but also from Brighton. You came in from Brighton today, right?
Yes, precisely. Yeah, just arrived from Brighton, yeah.
And you chose to move to Brighton instead of moving to London.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
tell us a bit more about that. I think the Londoners listening to this might have some questions.
So, I mean, London is an amazing city. It's really nice. A lot of things going on. A nice culture, scene, for sure good for work. But as we don't have to go to an office every day, and we have 3 children, we thought that Brighton would be a better spot for us to have more freedom, so our kids can play more. And every time that I need, I just come here and
you can do whatever you want here.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I think so. A couple of my friends used to live in London. So I grew up in London personally. I've been here since I was 12. A couple of my friends used to live in London as well. People I grew up with in school.
Oh.
And some of them moved to Brighton just because they thought, enough of this. I don't want to be in London anymore. And they don't even have a family and kids. They just thought, the hell with this, I'm done.
It is a fun city. It is a really young city. A lot of things going on. People trying to have more time there. So it's easier to connect with people, to engage, to talk with completely strangers at the street. So it is nice. It's really nice environment to be. Yeah.
Well, that's lovely. That's really lovely. I mean, I've been to Brighton 2 times, I think, twice now.
Oh, really? No, you're good. And you've been here your whole life.
I need to go more often.
Come on, man. Yeah. Next one, we are doing at my place there.
Okay, fine. I'll come to Brighton next time. It's done. Okay, it's done. Decision made. No, fair enough, man. But you moved from LATAM to, I want to say, Italy.
Yeah.
And then to the UK, right?
Precisely.
Before we get into Medible and MedibleGo and the stuff that you run, can you maybe just tell us a little bit more about the sort of the journey that kind of led you up to this point? I know you're a professor as well in a past life at some point. Right?
Yeah, a really long time ago. Yeah.
Wow.
So, I was born in Brazil.
Okay.
And in a rough situation, economically wise, I would say it wasn't easy. I started to work when I was 14 years old.
Wow.
That's legal.
That's very early.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's legal in Brazil. It's not illegal.
Oh, really?
And that's really early. That wasn't that much of a necessity, although we weren't in a comfortable situation, I'd say, as a family, but wasn't as a necessity. But like just to produce my money and start to do the things that I wanted to. So, and that was in São Paulo. After that, I went to Porto Alegre. I've lived there for 80 years, more or less. Porto Alegre is like the south of Brazil. Okay. I've studied there a Bachelor of Science in Public Relations. Then I spent 1 year and something in Australia.
Oh wow!
Yeah, just went there to chop onions and
why
work.
not? Why not? Yeah.
I mean,
you decided at one point that Brazil, this is fantastic, and I love it, and I love their work from the age of 14. But I kind of want something different. So let me go to Australia for a bit.
Yeah, precisely. That's the thing. I like other cultures. I like to learn. I like to be with people, to learn different realities, and so it was amazing the time that I spent there in Australia.
Which part of Australia did you go to?
So I spent most of the time in Sydney.
Okay.
I used to live in Bondi Beach. It's a lovely, lovely, lovely spot in the city. Then with 3 friends, we bought one car and did all the loop around Australia.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Oh, that was amazing. That was amazing. Like one of the best experience ever. Yeah.
This was before or after university you did this?
So while I was in university, I asked for a break. That is something I don't know if here people could do that.
You can take a sabbatical.
Yeah. So I took really cool. one year and maybe a bit more. And then I went to this trip, and I wanted to do while I was in university, so I had something to go back to bring me back to a routine and not get lost in life.
That's a very smart move. Yeah.
And no, it was amazing. Great experience. A lot of trekking, a lot of contact with nature, and all the adversity nature that there is in Australia. No, like the spiders, the snakes, and all the sharks.
Very different to Brazil. But you have the rainforest, obviously, in Latin America. Part of it is in Brazil, right?
Yeah. Australia is dry as hell.
But it's very different, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, they don't have water. It's like really different from a rainforest. So was really
Did you feel at home, despite the very different conditions?
That's an interesting question, Moa. I always feel like home.
That's great.
It's like I walk with me. So it's like a kind of my... I don't have to be anywhere else specifically to call home. So I felt home there. Okay,
that's really great. I'm really happy to hear that, man. I mean, I can clearly tell that you're someone who's, from an early age, just decided that you want to do things a little bit differently because... I mean, I don't know, how common is it to work at 14 in Brazil? And the second thing is, how common is it to leave Brazil and go to across the world quite literally and travel around? Is that a common thing people do? Or were you one of the odd ones out in that regard?
It is common to work from an early age.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's really, really common. And... and that's part of the problem that I would imagine that we have in Brazil and in Latin America overall, that for the economic reasons of most of people, they have to start work really age. They don't have the opportunity to get a full formation, at least formal one. And that's common. The part of traveling abroad, especially to Australia, is not that common. I mean, it's expensive, so most of people don't have the access to that. But
you saved up.
It's not that weird. So I mean, most of the people that are in university that have some sort of condition to do it, they do it. Yeah.
Okay, that's really interesting. All right, so before we go into the middle part of the journey, we'll fast forward back again to Medible.
Okay.
All right, so we'll come back to where we are now, and then we'll sort of touch on bits in between. But first things first. So you've been at Medible for a little while now. You took so you're the CEO of Medible, obviously, which people know because they've listened to the introduction, hopefully. And your path to get to become a CEO at Medible, it's not the typical founder path where you start the company, you actually worked your way up the ranks. Is that right?
Yeah, you're right. You really did your research more. I'm impressed here.
I try my best. but that. Some would say that's probably harder than. I mean, I don't know what's harder, starting a company or doing that. But I suppose can you maybe tell us a little bit more about that? So first of all, what is Medible, and then what's the journey been like for you to kind of get to the CEO level there?
Sure. So. We say Medible. We still say.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
I haven't done my research.
No, you did, because it was just written. But so we started Medible in Chile 10 years ago. What we do, we usually work with big corporations, big credit card issuers, big banks, insurance companies, like this big fancy corporations, and we help them to create the next generation of their products and services. So we really help them to understand better the needs of their consumers or the clients or users, and based on that, innovate and create better products and services with a really strong market fit. So I wasn't the founder of Medible, but I was engaged with the founders from since the day one. Actually, who founded the company was my wife. So yeah.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
wow, that's incredible. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah.
So you were very close to it from the very early days.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, and at that time, we used to drink one bottle of champagne every night each.
Oh wow! Only one?
No, one each.
Oh wow!
So yeah.
I mean, I was only joking, but you sure?
No, I don't have a problem with that.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's
so
incredible. Is that because it was so hard, right?
Not just that,
Okay.
but also was the moment that I arrived. So at that time I was working in different multinationals like ADP most of the time. It is a payroll multinational company. So we arrived at home. She told her day, I told mine, and like this kind of the conversations.
Sure.
Yeah, and
you have a bottle of wine, champagne, whatever. Makes sense.
To make the conversation flow
of course,
nicely.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, from a really early stage, I was engaged in the company, and then I've left ADP, and well, I was invited to join Medible as in a commercial role, helping them to develop and fast track the development of Medible in different countries. So at that time, Medible had clients in 3 countries, I would say, Chile and 2 others. So yeah, I entered the team with this international expansion mission, which is doing well, I would say. Yeah,
sure.
We're in 13 different
great.
countries now. So yeah, it's
that's incredible.
Yeah, and one thing led to the other. Like, and after like having good results as in the commercial area, and having had good experience in multinationals before,
yes,
I end up as a CEO of Medible.
That's brilliant. I mean, you have always been engaged on the commercial side of businesses generally, right? So you've been involved in business development and marketing and those kinds of roles from quite early on. I mean, if you look, so the previous roles that you did at previous companies tended to also be a lot on the commercial side. So it looked like you have experience with big companies, big multinationals within the commercial side already. So bringing that expertise in kind of just made sense, essentially, right?
Precisely, yeah. Yes. That was the idea too. So yeah, I'm in the technical field, always in the commercial area, product development, relationship development. So yeah, for quite a while now. So yeah, and
Medible works with. So you do. You basically help build products that are going to be really good. Well, you help companies deliver better services and products that are going to have a good fit with the market, right?
Precisely,
and am I correct in assuming you use user-centric design? Is that right?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit more about what that is and kind of why that's important?
Sure. So very often companies fail because they fell in love with their solution or their technology, and they put the technology before the needs of their...
I'm smiling because I've been there.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't want to put you about that.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I'm just going to cry a little bit, in the corner.
So yeah, that's very... Yeah, that's most of the time it happens like that in the in the market. And by our experience, and there's methodology about that's saying that actually it would be better always to put the final user or the client in the center of the design and to understand better their needs. And after understanding their needs, see what do you have to build. So we have we have seen a lot of and a lot of companies fail on that, and we have seen multi-millionaire contracts and investments that they end up in nothing because they just felt in love for the technology and not for the user, not for the problems that their consumers are facing.
Wow.
So yeah, that's the angle that we help our clients to create new products and services.
That's really cool. And have you come up with your own kind of methodology internally? So when you say user-centric design, is that something that you've come up with internally? You have your own sort of design methodology that you've come up with over the years that you use? or did you use something that's kind of well known out there in the world, or a bit of both, or
a bit of both?
Okay.
We didn't invented everything from scratch, so
Sure.
we in the early days of Medible, for sure, we started to use most of the methodologies that were there in the market, like design thinking, user-centric design, and sort of methodologies. Nevertheless, after a while, we have crafted our own way of doing the sort of services. So we have systematized around 35 methodologies. That's proprietary from us. And we use our own tools and instruments and methodology depending on the challenge that we have with our customers. So yeah, was born the methodology that we have with concepts of the market, but after a while we started to create our own thing.
Very cool. So you started with something that was there and then evolved it into your own.
Yeah.
And that's for Medible. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Medible.
Yeah,
all right.
beautifully.
Finally, I'm getting okay. Excellent. I actually tried to learn. You're originally from Chile, I want to say. Is that
No,
right?
no, I'm Brazilian.
Oh, you're Brazilian originally.
I'm Brazilian,
okay.
but the company is from Chile.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, that's where the confusion was. Do you speak Portuguese and Spanish then?
Yeah,
both?
Portuguese and
okay,
Spanish.
and
Yeah.
Italian.
And
I learned this just. Okay,
Yeah.
wow, incredible. And English? Any other?
And English? No,
any
no,
other
just
Russian?
that. No.
Polish? All right, cool.
No,
Okay,
not yet.
not yet. Yeah, I like that answer. That's a great answer. But that's for Medible, and then now you're also working on something called MedibleGo.
Yeah.
Right? Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Sure. So yeah, it is fun to work for these big corporations, and they pay well, and business is running nice and easy. Nevertheless, we want to do more now, it has been for a while now. We started to study different to understand a bit more the inequality, social inequality worldwide, and this is the major problem that we have as a society nowadays, to tackle inequality, and there's nothing here against like the wealthy people and the billionaires. It's not on that area that we want to tackle inequality, but by helping others also to be able to generate better value, more revenue in their business, to generate value. So in that sense, we started to put all the data that we have accumulated in Medible in these past 10 years in 10 different countries into one platform of AI technology to be able to deliver the same services that we deliver to these big corporations, but to SMEs.
Brilliant.
So, and with that, we could help SMEs to have their revenue grown like 2 times, 3 times by using the methodology that big corporations are using nowadays. So every fancy corporation that you know, financial, technological, medical,
sure.
Everybody invests heavily in product development. And SMEs, they just can't afford that. And with MedibleGo, we want to break a bit that. We want to help SMEs. I mean, just makes sense. SMEs, they hold 70% of the global GDP.
Wow. That's a lot.
99% of the employers here in the UK, they are SMEs. So, I mean, by helping SMEs, it's by helping in boosting the whole global economy overall. And so we have started this new journey now, I would say.
That's really incredible. So you're doing this alongside Medible, right? So that's the stuff you're doing there is carrying on the consulting work, and I understand you're working across multiple different industries, banking and medical and different ones, right?
Yes. So we have we had the opportunity to work in different verticals. We keep on doing that. We have worked a lot with governments, financial services, utility companies, telecommunications, health sector. So all that keep on going, and in parallel to that, we are building MedibleGo to help SMEs, to help industry agnostic. So SME doesn't really matter the sector that they are working at, but they could use MedibleGo to boost their business.
Wow. So the idea is then to democratize the services and products that would normally be available to big corporates and enable smaller companies to also use them. And in turn, you're able to effectively help more people create more money and therefore be able to help with global social inequality.
Precisely.
Right.
Really, really good.
Amazing.
And there's one element that I didn't mention. Oh, sorry for interrupting you.
No,
It's,
please.
we also, through Medible and MedibleGo, we also want to support SMEs with microcredits.
Very interesting. Okay. I was going to ask you about that later.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant.
Sorry.
No, okay, it's a really interesting point because, I was going to ask you what you think micro loans or microcredits, what role do you think that will play in global social inequality more generally? But would love to hear it from the perspective of Medible and MedibleGo, and then we can talk about...
Sure. Yeah. So we have worked with a lot of companies in the financial sector. It is a sector that we quite know well, and how does it work, and the challenges that they have. And for a while now, we have been studying a lot the microcredit in situation. And there's one beautiful case, Mohammed Yunus. He won a Peace Nobel Prize in 2006, I think, and his business was he's from Bangladesh, and his business was just to give micro lending to SMEs. Most of the SMEs that he backed was led by women, and the results is just extraordinary. He backed up over 300,000 SMEs. And the risk management was really good. So most of the companies, like 98% of the companies, they paid back the full credit because it was just a really good opportunity to them to be included into the financial system. Because the other way around, SMEs don't really...
That's a very, very good return. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. It is better than any other segment, and it is. So I mean, you could talk with him. I'm nothing
sure.
But what I have seen, like giving the opportunity and the access to the finance to this sort of people that usually don't have the opportunity to be into the formal financial sector, it is really good business. So with Medible and MedibleGo, we want to support them with microfinance, but also helping them to craft products and services that will perform well in the market, that will have a really strong market fit and develop. So it's like a combo, I would say, like helping with financing, but also with guiding them to create better products and services.
That's really cool. And that's something that Medible and MedibleGo is doing right now, or is looking to do in the future? Or
So we are building our MVP. Yeah. So we are doing right now some pilots. For example, we have just started to collaborate with a charity here in the UK that's called Empower Latam. For the
brilliant
background.
Of course, it makes perfect sense. I mean,
we are starting a project with them to collaborate with young Latin people who want to create new business, doesn't really know how to do that. So we are doing like this, delivering the services to them still with humans.
Sure.
And in parallel to that, we are building our AI platform.
Wow, that's very cool. So you're doing the work on the ground and also doing that. So, and funding-wise, I'm presuming that's coming through Medible, or is there also external investment coming into this?
So far, most of the funds that we have we are bootstrapping. Most of the funds are from Medible itself. Nevertheless, we just received one grant from Innovate UK.
Amazing.
It is a small grant.
Congrats. That's great. You don't need to go into the details, but that's fine. Amazing. Wow. So that's helping on the way as well to build that, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, you are working with charities and you're helping some charitable organizations kind of make progress there. So
that's the idea. We do see that the best way it is to collaborate to move forward together. So the charity Empower Latin, for example, they have already something beautiful going on, doing a lot of support with the young Latin American community here in the UK. Incredible. And we see the opportunity that we can collaborate with them and boost what they're doing. And aligned with that, we want to collaborate more, to engage with other charities, with other NGOs, with other organizations that where we could have a good fit as Medible and MedibleGo to support them as well.
That makes a lot of sense. One of the things that's really interesting is that you've built this, you've been on a journey. I mean, you've been in it since day one, so it is definitely fair to say that you've built this company, Medible, with the team, which is more of a traditional kind of business, a consulting business where it's just the ins and outs of it are a little bit different, kind of how tech startups tend to work. And now you're also building MedibleGo, which is a lot more, it seems and sounds a bit more like a tech startup, if that makes sense. But obviously you're doing that internally, maybe as an internal thing, whether it's a spin-off or whatever it is, but it's done as an internal thing. But from my experience as well as conversations with other people, those tend to be a little bit different to run. The startup mindset, the mentality of, moving really quickly, not getting things up to 100%. It's like 80% is good enough, and then ship it, and then whatever. But also really quick learning feedback cycles, failing fast and failing cheap, and all that sort of mentality that tends to go into startups can be quite different sometimes to the kind of mentality that is needed to run a traditional consulting business. First of all, would you agree with that? But and then secondly, and more importantly, what have you seen any difference sort of in running those two things, or is it just business at the end of the day?
I mean, there's more points that are the same than difference, I would say. So I don't know how other business run, but I would say at Medible, we, although wasn't a technological company, we always had that mindset. Let's test, let's prove, let's fail fast, and then we change. And so the mentality, it's more or less the same, I would say.
Okay.
But it does change a bit the capital that you need. When you are building a tech, you need to put capital into a platform, and quite well how does that work. Yep. When you have a more human-based company, you don't need that injection of capital, because you can grow with your company as you grow with your revenues. You just hire people when you sell something. So you close a deal, and then you go and find people. So it's more organic, the growth. And in the tech side, I would say that has to be a bit more stimulated with new capital to build something that will work, and after that, on a long run, should be more profitable at that company.
Ideally.
Ideally.
Although it is really interesting that there is a bit of a shift recently, right? As in the investment side of things is now flowing a little bit more toward companies that have been operating as consultancies or in the green businesses, and then turning into tech, whatever. I feel like that model is now a model that a lot of people are actually thinking, wow, that makes a lot of sense. I kind of like that, and I'm more willing to back.
Yeah, I would say so, because I'm raising capital, so I'm talking with other investors and trying to understand their bloody mind. But one thing that I've seen that's different now, that investors are seeking more seasoned founders. So not just like someone with a piece of tech that's coming from the university. I mean, there's still that market, and for sure. Is still running well, but they are seeing that someone that has already run a business, that has a concept, that has something going on, it is trying to be a bit more secure investment than the other way around. So I'm seeing a bit of change of that. But I haven't raised that much money. So, it's just positive so far.
Well, I think you have a lot going for you, because you are consulting first, and then so you've done a lot of this stuff already with a lot of businesses, and you're revenue making, and you're bootstrapping for the most part. And then the conversation with investors are more of a cherry on the cake, really, as opposed to something that's like an absolute must. And so I think that definitely can help a lot. I wanted to ask you about MedibleGo. So, I mean, we can talk about Medible as well, but I want to focus a bit more on MedibleGo for now, just because, given the theme of the podcast, the good for profit angle, I feel like there's a lot we can talk about there. And I maybe let me start by asking a broad question, and then we can go a bit more into MedibleGo specifically. But what does good for profit, or what does that term first of all mean for you? And if you don't have a definition for it, like, how would you go about defining a company that does good in the world? How would you define that? Good.
Yeah, it's a really broad question.
It's a very broad question, I know, but
I mean, one thing that for me it is clear, it is not sustainable anymore. Just doing money. I think that that's bad business. That's bad for profit. If you just have,
that's great. I like that.
we can start another one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, bad for profit. Because I mean, it will fail sometime soon. And like all this that we have seen, like big corporations that they try to adapt and adjust, and then they are forcing a bit themselves in doing like this greenwashing. It's not sustainable. It's really bad for business as well. So I do understand that nowadays, as the economy as it is today, is just smarter if you besides don't generate profit, and that Medible is profitable. We are profitable. We care about that. But having that in mind, but also trying to do something back to the society as an outcome of your own business, as MedibleGo is, like we help. The histories that we have, like that we are changing people's life, that people that were just struggling to pay the rent or to pay the gas, like with all this cost of living crisis. And when we can see like tangible results that MedibleGo is changing people's lives, it's just beautiful. Wow. It's just amazing. And so if your company it doesn't have that in the essence of the things that you're delivering, at least they should think something like how can I make good. I don't know, if you're an oil company, yeah, you have to be doing something now. I mean, at this point, come on, it's
sure.
It makes no sense to go to the other way.
To just go with money and that's it. Yeah.
I don't know if I answer your question.
No, 100%. No, 100%. I guess it's more. I'm more curious to understand what it means to people, because the word good or doing good it can mean different things to different people. And so I'm just genuinely curious to understand, what does it mean to different people? Because there are some people who would argue that there is no company would be profitable if it's not doing good. As in, like a successful business is by nature something that does good in the world. But then there are people that would argue not necessarily. Like, for example, it may think it's doing good, but is it really doing good in the long term? Is it actually helping? Blah, blah, blah. And so how that is defined, I think, is quite an important thing. And it's something that I'm just curious to kind of like ask different entrepreneurs and different people how they feel about that, really.
I don't agree with this statement that every business is doing good just because it's making money. One of the most controversial billionaires in the world, it is like the Lord of War. I don't know how he's called, but the person who got rich.
It's a great movie, by the way.
Nicolas Cage. Yeah. He was really good at making money, and he, as an entrepreneur, I would say that he's just amazing. He bought a lot of aircrafts from Soviet Union when it was he really crafted his business well, I would say. He generated a lot of money, but for sure. Well, it's not a good business. I mean,
sure. Yeah, I mean, it's at the cost of a lot of people.
Yeah, and so there's the and I don't want to be polemical here, but there's like the weapon industry and the war industry, and where it's regulated. I mean, I don't like it, but I'm not against it.
Yep.
It's not the same thing as this Lord of War had done, because he did a really good business, but as a like obscure way. So no, doing good business and generating money is not good enough from my point of view. And
that's a really interesting point. I think it's because you said something which I was going to actually kind of play devil's advocate with and go back and say, well, we kind of do need defense at the end of the day still. So we do need a military complex, and so we do need defense. And so, but now I see your point about the fact that if it's regulated and it's done in a certain way, then sure, that's probably a little bit better. But I suppose, well, it should be. I mean, we're not going to go into details here. Yeah, we're not going to go into details. This is definitely way out of my expertise. I'd imagine that you are more interested in creating a better world for people through economic progress than to fix the military industrial complex, which is an extremely complicated thing. So, but it is definitely interesting to kind of like hear people's thoughts on how they perceive that sort of good is. And so, taking that, what we've just been talking about, and then kind of diving into MedibleGo. I don't know how early or late you are in the process of creating this and getting it on the market and so on. Have you already started putting in place some sort of measures for success, North Star metrics and things like that? Is that something you've already thought about for MedibleGo?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are really in early stage. So we are developing our MVP. We are seeking friends.
FFF, friends, family and fools.
Who can support us in this journey, innovate, help. So, but we are really in a really early stage of the development of the technology itself. Nevertheless, we are delivering the same services as MedibleGo with our resources and with the humans that we have. We measure a lot. We measure every point. So every point of the contact that we have with them, and we measure how that interaction is adding value to the entrepreneur and to their business. And by the end of their journey, we also are measuring the results of the business itself. So, and I can say with a lot of confidence, like after MedibleGo, we can help an SME to raise 2 times, 3 times their revenue.
Wow. That's incredible. And you've got data to track record of.
So
that's incredible.
So it works.
Yeah, that's such a good sales pitch, by the way. Just that.
Okay.
You should just go in with that and be like, we can show you the data that will help you get 2 to 3x your revenue. That's fantastic. Do you tend to engage with companies over a certain period of time? Does it tend to be kind of long-term engagements or short-term?
It could be both, long and short term, but also depending on the entrepreneur, on the person who we are working with. We just engage with entrepreneurs, with micro entrepreneurs who are willing some help.
Right.
So if our system does not work when someone doesn't want to hear feedback, doesn't want to do some things differently. So, I have been doing this for the past 30 years, and whatever, keep on your life, that's fine. But those who want to challenge themselves, to understand something different, to generate with those we can interact in a short-term and long-term relationship. What does very often happen is like they started with one goal, and like within 2 or 3 months that goal is reached, then they bring another one. Okay, now Brilliant. I want to go to a new market. Now I want to make more sustainable my line of production and whatever. So we can.
So you can come in at different points and help with different parts. That makes a lot of sense. So would you say that your main metric is what value you're bringing to the entrepreneur at the end of the day? Is that, I mean, as a company, of course, at least back when I was co-founder in a startup, we had to pick some metrics to think, okay, what are our North Star metrics? What are the most important things to us? And for the sake of investors, those usually have to be things that are directly related to revenue. If they're not revenue, then there are things that are directly related to revenue. So, what are you offering, or what is the value that you're adding to the customer? And when that value is achieved, that will then translate into revenue. So something along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, there's a really strong focus on revenue, the revenue that we can make these SMEs generate. Nevertheless, there's another thing that we really like to look at, and we feel confident that we could help. Here in the UK, today, there's 80% of people who hate their job. 80%. So you go in a train, you go in the bus, 80% of those there, they hate what they're doing in their daily life.
Unfortunately, yes. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and...
we're the lucky few.
We're the lucky few, and we should change that.
Yeah.
Because, I mean... to have someone suffering the whole life is just not good.
Yeah, I mean, isn't it like what percentage of our lives do we spend at work? Isn't it? It's a third or something, right? Not a third, but it's Well, it's almost a third that we spend at work. So yeah.
Or more.
Or more,
and,
even. I mean, yeah, depending. That's very true.
And so we started to understand why. Are people masochists? They like to... No, it's like, well, there's a few parts of that.
When you are in Britain and you grow up with this grey weather and everything else around it, you just kind of accept it. You're just like, nah, it's another day. Yeah. I'm obviously joking. Yeah.
No. And I think that there might be some truth in there. Nevertheless, we started to... we are collaborating with Digital Catapult.
Yep.
And with them, we have just conducted one survey across the UK to understand the reasons that people are suffering their daily job, and most of them are just picked whatever daily job as they get, like whatever job, because they didn't have the support to start their own business. So there's a lot of people just frustrated that people that would like to live with from their craft, from their art, from their things that they are passionate about. Nevertheless, they end up in a retail store doing whatever because they just didn't get the support of
how to start a business.
Yeah.
Wow.
And how to start, not just in this practical sense, or like open the company and this sort of accountings and whatever, but also to give the confidence that they need in themselves to become entrepreneurs. So a lot of people just think, no, that's not for me. I'm not good enough. I mean, I think I can't. I don't understand. It's not. No, yeah, whatever. I'll do later. Let me learn a bit. So with Medible Go, we want to change that, and that's a really long answer to your specific question about the KPIs.
No, I love it. No. This is great. That's how you work out the KPIs. So actually, the thought process behind it is very important. So
we are early stage, but I would love to be here in 5 years' time and say, now we have just 60% of the people who are unhappy.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and that would be a really, or if we take as an individual that we can help one individual to change their life from being unhappy every day to be happy and more realized and working with those things that they are passionate about. I mean, that's a really good idea.
That's incredible. Yeah, no, absolutely. And it goes back, so the reason why I asked you the question about, how do you define good and so on, I guess you have an internal metric within the company that is directly related to what sort of good thing you're trying to add in the world, what sort of positive change you're trying to make in the world, right? And that sounds to me like one of those metrics. So
absolutely. So I mean the broad thing here that we are trying to do, it is to tackle inequality. And when we are talking about inequality, there's a lot of areas in that. So it's financial inclusion, this is diversity, it is sustainability. So through that way, so that's the big flag that we have, like inequality, and so we are seeing different angles that we can contribute to eradicate that. And the most beautiful thing here, Mo, is our team. They are really on board.
That's brilliant.
I mean, they like to work to big fancy corporations and these banks and. But it's much more rewarding when they have the opportunity to work and collaborate with these small entrepreneurs, with these micro entrepreneurs who are just starting and helping to change their life. I mean,
wow. It's a lot more exciting.
A lot more exciting.
Yeah.
We are crying a lot.
Really? That's insane.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so beautiful. Oh God. So I'm assuming that people in your company actually like to be there. Instead of hate their jobs. They're not part of the 80% that hate their jobs. They come in and they cry and they release some emotions and they feel happy and then they leave. Wow, that's beautiful, man.
No, I really could bring some of them here so they can.
I believe you. I really believe you. I'll come to your office sometime. We can I'll have a coffee with you at some point.
Please, yeah.
And then when people start crying, you can be like, "See, look, I told you."
Just to be honest, we are crying by happiness.
No, I know. This is like tears of joy, right?
Yeah.
No, but that's actually really beautiful, and I think that you really touched an important point there, because because a lot of job satisfaction, it's that direct access to the good that you're doing, to the positive change that you're making. And I think part of the problem with really big corporates is that everybody comes in and they play such a small role in a much bigger company. And so people don't necessarily see the positive impact of what they're doing on a day-to-day basis as well. That's also part of the problem, right? But when you work with it closely and you can see it firsthand, this is the change I'm making, there's a real positive element to that. And I spoke with someone recently as well who is working on an it's basically a donation app to be able to donate to people, to homeless people and people who are sort of in need around the country. But the great thing about it is that you get notified when the person uses the money to buy food and things like that.
Oh, that's
and
beautiful.
So you get direct feedback of what you're doing, which is it's one thing giving money to a charity and just be like, all right, well, that's out there now. Yeah, it's done.
Yeah,
and it's another thing getting a notification, be like, oh wow, that's amazing. I'll just literally help this guy have dinner. Like it's a direct feedback, and yeah. So
what a beautiful comment.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah, I'll introduce you. Yeah, Face Donate. Yeah, I'll introduce you. He was on the podcast at some sort of a few months back, and it's brilliant because also they enable just people all over the UK to be able to have money donated to them without needing to have bank accounts or whatever. And so it's quite cool actually. It allows people who just all you need is a phone. And that's it, and it allows you to simply use that. But even if you don't have a phone, I know they're working on solutions so that you wouldn't need a phone in a shop, for example. You can just go in and actually be able to get what you need without having to have any device on you. And it's all through money that's been donated by people.
That's really cool. Yeah, imagine like the excitement that you have like in a cold winter night. Whoa. They just bought dinner. Oh, lovely.
It's beautiful. So, but there's something about that direct feedback, right? Like when you can really see it happening.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, man. So you have been, obviously, as part of getting the word out there for Medible Go, you've been going to a bunch of events recently. I've been seeing you pop up everywhere, Every time I go on LinkedIn, it's like you're at Web Summit or Slush or whatever. And Slush has been making quite a bit of noise recently as well as an event.
Yeah.
And how was it, by the way?
It was lovely.
Yeah.
It was lovely. So yeah. I mean, I like to talk with people. I like to communicate, and I like to engage with people. So yeah, you will keep seeing me a lot more everywhere.
I hope so.
So this year I had the opportunity to go. I went to Web Summit, the Next Web in Amsterdam, Web Summit in Lisbon. I went to Bits and Pretzels in Munich, and to Slush now in Helsinki.
I like these names a lot, by the way.
And
pretzels and
they're but the Slush was just the best one.
Really? I've heard really good feedback, to be honest, from the people who've went as well. Yeah. Wow.
No, if you haven't been next year, let's go together because I mean,
for sure.
It's really good. First, the environment that they're building is like with like always half dark, like it's kind of a club. Like
well, there was a joke on there's a WhatsApp group for the community I'm a part of, and there was a joke that it almost looked like I don't know, one of like the famous DJ's parties or whatever. They're just all the lights and everything they had.
It was, and so it's a different environment to do business. The quality of the people there was really good. A lot of founders, a lot of investors, and stakeholders from different other technological companies to talk. Everybody willing to communicate, to talk, and was really good. Was really good.
What's the atmosphere like there? So did you find, was it mostly European companies and VCs there and investors, or was it also US and kind of Asia?
European.
Mostly European, right?
Yeah, European. There are a few...
And this is in Helsinki, by the way, for people listening, right?
Yeah, that's in Helsinki. So yeah, most of the people there were European. Few from US, one or two from Canada that I've met personally, and from Latin America, almost none.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
you're representing the whole region.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm doing my best there, like to give up. So no, to be a global event, I would say that would have to evolve a bit in terms of it is still something going on in the neighborhood, like in the European market.
But it is incredible because you're seeing more and more tech hubs starting to get built out in more and more places, which is really cool. I think, you're going to see more and more of that. I mean, many governments all over the world are now investing money to get tech hubs rolling there, just like the UK did and so on. So It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, here in the UK, we are part of a global entrepreneur program. It's like a effort from the UK government to bring overseas entrepreneurs here to the UK.
Brilliant.
So
Is that
they're
part
doing
of
their share.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. So yeah, maybe can you tell us a bit more about that? So you're involved with is it fellow or an alumni? Are you an alumnus, right?
Yeah.
With a couple of organizations that I saw. Are those sort of LATAM specific?
So one of them is like this global entrepreneur program.
Yeah.
So it is run by the Department of Business and Trade of the UK. So they actively scout business in other countries that could add value to the UK economy, and from the UK also to export and to create business opportunity.
Would you recommend?
Sorry?
Sorry, going on.
No, yeah, it was kind of created after Brexit. So yeah, I don't want to enter like in dodgy areas, but
that's fine.
But yeah, they created like a kind of trying to boost a bit after the.
You can enter all the dodgy areas, my friend. I don't mind at all. We can talk about it. Yeah, Brexit was a very interesting thing. Yeah, it's crazy. We have to make it work now. It's one of those things where like it's happened, just make it work and kind of move on with it, right? But it was great after Brexit to kind of interact with LATAM as well.
So yeah, it's not specific to LATAM. So they have like this roles that's called deal makers, and they seek entrepreneurs from the different. So more or less in every embassy that there's some the UK embassy in every country, they have someone there like trying to scout business.
Okay.
It's a really hard process. I mean, it's really hard to get your business into this program, but once you are here, I mean, they are great. I can just be thankful from all the support that they are giving us here in the UK.
So if people are listening from other places, you recommend that they check that out?
Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. And the other one is...
The other one, it's from the...
Pro Chile?
Yeah. So Pro Chile, it's like...
Sounds to me like a Chile specific thing.
Yeah,
right?
It is
Got it.
So yeah, Pro Chile, it is an effort of the government from Chile to help entrepreneurs to go abroad.
Awesome.
So
Very cool.
We are part of this program that's called Global X, and they actively support us to develop business here in Europe.
That's pretty cool.
It's really good program, a great mentors, network, a lot of connections. And also it's really valuable, the connection with other founders, because most of the problems, they are the same in every company. So yeah, to exchange ideas. And so yeah, it's really, really good.
And they're all from Chile trying to expand into other places around the world,
yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that must be really interesting. I'm curious to maybe chat a bit about that actually before we go into a bunch of other things. What was that expansion journey like for you? How tough, how easy, what was that? I mean, aside from the personal side, because moving a whole family abroad is already pretty hard.
It is really hard.
I mean, moving
the hardest part.
Moving house alone is that even harder than the business. Yeah.
Yeah, to be honest with you, really? it is. And it's harder and more tense because there's just emotionals going on.
Yeah.
So my youngest, he's 10.
Wow.
And this is the 4th country that he lives in.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so yeah.
Mom and dad love to move around, huh?
Yeah. So, and the kind of, in the 1st or 2nd country, we could lie to him a bit. and now we just can't. They know what's going on. They know how it's going to be. They know the drill, and it's really hard to manipulate the situation.
Yeah, you can't do it anymore. Yeah. That's back in there, you could be like, oh, there's better sweets over there. So it's so good.
So I was surprised how hard it is here in the UK.
Really?
Yeah, I just arrived from Italy. Okay. They are well known by their bureaucracy and
Italy. Yes.
Yeah, in Italy, they're really good on doing.
Very good.
Here,
yeah. Is it worse?
Yeah, I mean, you guys are not behind. I mean, it's really.
I thought Italy. Sorry, I thought Italy was a lot worse, to be honest with you. But
I would expect that.
Yeah, I mean,
or at least I was expecting that. And when I got here, I got a bit frustrated, like the rental mortgage and even to get a mobile phone. I mean,
is it complicated?
It's really complicated. It's not easy. Really?
That's so. What's the easiest so far? I mean, you've lived in a few places. What's been the easiest so far?
I mean, I would say just Brazil. I mean, I was born, it's
zero bias.
Though, no, it's the best country ever. No, I mean, it was easier for me because I was raised and born there. So and
And if I go back there, I know that's going to be easier.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, it's not easy to do business in Brazil. It's really hard. The taxes, they are crazy.
Oh, really? What's the tax like over there?
Nobody could answer.
Okay, great. That's it. I think that's a great answer. That says it all. Yeah, that says it all.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. But the bureaucracy is a little bit simpler, right? I mean, I go back and forth to Egypt quite a lot, just because I was born there, obviously, and I've got friends and family there, and it's weird. There are some things like day-to-day life stuff that can be a little bit easier. Just because, you can buy a SIM card from a kiosk or something like that. Whereas to get things done, paperwork, government-related things, here is way easier. Way, way easier. I mean, obviously back, if you know people, that can make a big difference. I think if you know people back there, that makes a bigger difference than if you know people here. Over here, if you know people with the general day-to-day things, doesn't help that much. But... No, I'm surprised to hear that you think Italy was better than here. I'm not taking it personally. I mean, I'm not offended. But I'm just genuinely like, yeah, I'm surprised.
No,
wow.
yeah, because of the expectations. And that's the thing.
Expectations
I was expecting something much easier and wasn't. And when I arrived in Italy, I knew that it was hard.
I see that.
And
that
it was
helps.
hard.
Yeah. Well, mate, I'm so sorry. I mean, look, this, we'll feed that back to the powers that be. So. You were recently mentioned in an article, right, by Fintech Times, and in that they spoke about how the fintech market went from 50 million to 2.1 billion from 2016 to 2023, right? In LATAM, that is. So in Latin America, the fintech market has been seeing a big boom, and that was partly due to something called open finance. Right, which is the equivalent of open banking here. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. The first country in the world that had the open banking and open finance was here in the UK. The second one, if I'm not mistaken, it was Brazil.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So and in Colombia they have one law in place. Chile, and so it's something that's spreading around. A lot of based on the experience that was generated here in the UK, and attached with open finance, it is emerging a lot of fintechs, as happened here and still happening here in the UK. But also back in Latin America. I would say that the fintech space in Brazil is quite mature. There is a lot of things going on, a lot of innovation and technology. Also in Chile, we are seeing something new. And in that specific article, if I recall, what we were doing was something really fun. We were working to some corporate clients back in Latin America and helping them to adopt fintechs here in the UK and take them to Latin America, so they can speed their time to market to new products. And so banks, they are. I mean, they I don't want to be polemical, but yeah, their core business is not technological development for sure. So they are big, they are slow. It's not their core business.
Sure.
So startups and fintechs, they are much faster. So what we are taking things that it's thriving here in the market in the UK and taking to Latin America. So
That's
banks
brilliant.
in Latin America, they can speed up their technology and have better products and service to the community. It's really fun.
Yeah, sounds it.
Yeah,
That's really cool. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, are you finding there's uptake? Is there like sort of a lot of interest there? So, I mean, if you're sort of speaking to companies, I suppose, here in the UK who are in fintech right now, or if you're speaking to companies who are in fintech in Latin America, would you recommend this cross collaboration? I mean, if people are thinking of expanding or if people are thinking of moving around?
Absolutely. I mean, the financial sector. In every other sector, I would say that nowadays, but especially in the financial sector, I would invite everybody to see it as a really collaborative sector. So fintechs will do better when they collaborate with other fintechs and with banks and with insurance companies, because together we can build more things. So I would strongly recommend for a fintech from Latin America, come to the UK, and the other way around, go to Latin America. And that's really fun. So here in the UK, when you ask about Latin America, I mean, most of them, when they recognize that I'm from Latin America, they try to put, in our roadmap, we are planning to go there. Most of the times,
it's not real.
It's not real.
It's BS.
Okay, whatever. And when they talk about Latin America, they just are thinking about Brazil or Mexico.
Right.
For sure, big markets, a lot of people. But I would invite to look a bit further, and especially to the Chilean market. It's a really point of entrance to the Latin American economy. It is a small country. It is secure. It is a part of OCDE, so they have a really strong legal system that gives a lot of guarantees when it comes to investments. It is culturally, it is closer to do business here than to the other countries in Latin America. It's, people are a bit more straightforward, and they say yes, they say no. I mean, it's a bit more because we had experience in other countries where people were saying yes, but meant no. It was like we are doing that, okay, and the contract never arrived, and so Chile, I would say that's more UK standard of doing business. Yeah.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I guess because it's one of those things, until you speak to people who are from the region or have worked a lot in the region, you don't understand it fully, right? It's very difficult. So, I mean, so with Chile, would you recommend that people, if somebody wanted to expand into LATAM, you were saying that Chile would be a great place to start, but also, is it one of those things where you kind of have to be on the ground and get things properly set up on the ground there and kind of plan for a part of your team to move there? Or is it something that you can get involved with online first and then go there afterwards? What's the sort of... Because I know that different regions work a little bit differently. So if I wanted to meet and engage with people in the Middle East, I'm going to go there and be on the ground and meet in person, because that's how most things happen in a very serendipitous way. Whereas if I want to meet and engage with people in Austin, Texas, I don't need to be there, right? In New York, similar. I don't need to be there. I mean, you're gonna. There's a difference. Being there is definitely better than not being there. But for these initial conversations, initial chats, I find that different regions work a little bit differently. What's it like with Chile? Can I start talking to people there online, or do I need to be on the ground to actually get to know things?
Definitely start talking online.
Right.
It is far and it's expensive.
Well, but it's also a good excuse for a holiday. So.
Well, definitely. Yeah. But
I'm here for work. Right?
Start online, talk with people. But to close deals, I would say that you would have to go there. And there's the language barrier. If you are fintech here and you want to collaborate with a big financial institution there, you must be ready to take that step. And the company, they will want some kind of insurance, like who are going to be here, how's going to be the support, who are we talking with. Like the time zone is something that always tricky to. Okay. So you would have to show a lot of commitment to go there, but if you do your research, you do online, then you go there, and then you shake hands. I think it would be really a good experience.
Okay.
And happy to help if anyone.
Sure. Well, thank you. There you go. Yeah. Thank you. I guess, but moving family is still going to be very hard, right? I mean, that's going to be hard in any case. If it's difficult moving your family across from Italy to here, then I'm assuming it's going to be hard moving your family across from anywhere to anywhere, really. So,
I mean, I'm really lucky with the family that I have.
That's incredible. Yeah,
quite flexible. They have learned a lot of languages, and but it's always hard. I mean, they're living friends. They are living what they know. They're living their foods. They're living family. So
although with that, so I moved around quite a lot as a kid growing up. I wouldn't say a lot. I think your kids have definitely moved around more than I did by now. But I went to 2 primary schools, 1, 2, 3 secondary schools. And then college and university. And I lived in Egypt, but also in Saudi Arabia for the first 6 years. I was between Egypt and Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
Then Egypt for 6 years, and then I came here after that. But, having to switch schools so many times and having to switch neighborhoods. I mean, and my parents have moved house like no tomorrow. We've moved around a lot. So, having to do that a lot does teach you a lot of skills that become really useful later on in life.
It does,
I wouldn't feel bad about it. Like it's a different way of doing things, of course, but at the same time, that different way of doing things will usually give a skill set that you may not find as many people have
I strongly agree with you, Mo. And yet, a 15-year-old...
they won't understand that. No, they won't understand
like that.
Yeah, no, they're not going to understand that.
So but in the long run, I do. I do think that's a really good skill that you have to learn, and you have to adapt and to understand better the culture and to
absolutely.
You develop things that you don't even know that you are developing. Like
absolutely. Yeah. I think one of the things is you learn how to make friends with people, and that's really important. You learn how to speak to different people and like to engage with different people regardless of where they come from and how they are and who they are and so on.
Absolutely.
Which is a really useful skill to have in life, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Probably
even more for entrepreneurs. So if they want to be entrepreneurs one day, then you're helping equip them with I mean you can't plan your children's lives inside out, but I guess you can do the best that you can to try and equip them with different skills and then kind of see how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that every parent might be thinking the same, but I mean, we do commit a lot of mistakes in the process, and
that's part of it. Yeah.
But I think so. I think that our world will be more and more global every day, every year. So to have the ability to talk with different people, understand different cultures, and that's really understand the culture, because there's no right and wrong very often. There's like way of doing things in one place and a way of doing things in another place, and you just have to kind of adapt and play the game. Don't lose your essence as a human, but you have to play the game,
the social game that we're
sure.
That's a really interesting point. I mean, it's different cultures definitely do different things in very different ways, and what might seem as a right thing to do to one culture can be a completely wrong thing to do to another.
Absolutely.
And I guess navigating around that must be quite difficult I don't know how difficult it is for a kid. I feel like kids just kind of naturally get on with it. They just kind of adapt and get on with it. But I might be biased. I don't know. I mean, you've obviously seen it with your children growing up, and you've moved around quite a lot. Do you feel like every person is able to adapt the same way, or do different people adapt in different ways to that sort of thing?
Potentially, I would say that everybody would be able to adapt. I mean, we are all humans. We have more or less the same brain, and the elasticity of our brain is more or less the same to everybody. Nevertheless, there are some people that are more attached with things that they believe and do not recognize the alternative ways of doing things. And traveling for sure helps you to work that elasticity muscle and to understand differently. So I would say that everybody should, but it's something that you have to train yourself.
You have to work on.
I mean, like driving the other way.
Yeah,
it is something. For example, it's tiny little thing, but it gives you a bit like.
That's a really interesting one. You know, the thing with driving. So I grew up imagining that I would drive one day on the left side. So and I used to love cars as a kid. I used to watch a lot of car movies, and I loved cars growing up. And so I'd always imagine myself with my left hand on the wheel and my right hand on the gear, right? And then I started learning how to drive in the UK. Yeah. And so it's the complete other way around. But I feel like the fact that I imagined it so many times as a kid growing up, doing it this way, meant that when I came to drive this way, it just felt natural. Like I didn't feel like it's wrong in any way.
No.
So I can drive both very easily now, which is great. So I think there's something to that, you know,
and that's the ability to adapt, to understand that there's something different.
But also I think there's something about if you grow up around both, you just learn to do both.
Yeah, sure.
You know,
absolutely,
because you have no other choice. Let me ask you a personal question that's not as deep, but it's still a personal question. Favorite food? You've lived in a lot of places now, right? And so you're gonna have to play this one carefully because I'm sure you have friends in all these places, right?
Yeah.
So
it's gonna be hard.
Yeah, exactly. I know. But favorite cuisine. Let's start with cuisine, right? If you had to eat one cuisine for the rest of your life, so you have to choose from the different ones that you've lived around, you know. Yeah. I'm assuming it's not going to be British. Unless you really love, unless you really love British food.
I didn't have the opportunity yet to understand food. I'm here just for 3 months now.
There's not much, mate.
So yeah.
don't
I still have some mashed potatoes to eat.
Yeah, no, there's not much. Yeah, I mean, it's
No, I would say definitely the Italian cuisine. It is
right?
It is amazing. One of the things that I miss most about Italy is la porchetta, la mortadella, la pizza,
so
pasta,
good.
el wine.
It's also good.
Yeah, and prosecco. And
yeah, and it's incredible how it's all locally sourced as well. I mean, I remember going to a restaurant in, it was in North Italy, near Como, Lake Como.
Okay,
near Lake Como.
Lago di Como, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we call it Lake Como over here.
Yeah, Lake Como, yeah.
I remember going to a restaurant near there, and everything was locally sourced from the local farms. All of it. Like the wine was in the local vineyard, the meat was from the local whatever. Like everything is locally sourced, locally grown, and it just tastes so much better. Like the actual ingredients just taste so good.
Yeah, it is amazing. Like they have this concept like kilometer zero kilometer or 0 miles.
Interesting.
Like
okay.
So yeah, to consume foods that are locally produced, and they are just the best. They are really, really good. And
so is that a thing in Italy?
Yeah, it is a thing. It is it is a thing. I do understand that here in the UK it's not like
No. Over here it's like how much further has it traveled? Is really the idea.
Yeah, the avocado.
Is it coming from Australia? Why not? Why not from Australia? Bring it from Australia.
Yeah.
It's like that's
and it's really rich. The agriculture scene in Italy. They have really good productions everywhere, and it's really good. Makes a difference. Like a local produced tomato, it is.
Oh, absolutely.
It is beautiful.
Which is so. I need to bring somebody on the podcast at some point who is an expert in all of this to just talk me through all of this and understand it more deeply. I mean, genetically engineered tomatoes are, we just changed some genes to make them grow faster and bigger, I suppose, or get better yield or whatever. But why does it taste so crap? I mean, I don't get it. Why is it that locally sourced, locally grown, organic, whatever, just tastes so damn good? And even though the locally grown stuff is also genetically engineered, but like if you think about it, because generations and generations of selection is just basically the slow form of genetic engineering, really.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it just tastes so much better. I don't know why. I really want to bring somebody on to talk about this.
Well, and I will listen because it's a really
it's fascinating, right? Yeah. Why is it? Yeah. So, which part of Italy do you live, by the way? Was it Milan or
Rome?
Rome. Oh, Rome. Beautiful. South. Okay. Well, central.
Yeah,
south.
central. Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask you, as an officially an Italian who's lived there. Is Rome south or central? I mean, where exactly? Yeah, who does it belong to?
It is central.
It's
Rome
central,
is
right?
Central,
okay.
Yeah, Rome central.
I felt like the people in Rome felt a bit more southern to me, though, as far as Italy is concerned.
I would say that there's more similarity with south than with north, definitely. It happens in every country, this rivalry against region. People everywhere else don't really like the people from north and the other way around. It
happens everywhere.
It happens everywhere.
It's like how everything in the UK, everything north of London is the north, right?
So it's really tiny.
It's like a very, very small south. It's like, okay, well, how did that happen? Okay, interesting. So the food is definitely for you as the Italian. I'm sure that your family and friends back home in Brazil are not gonna. They're not going to feel bad about that one.
No, it's
no, I'm joking. Although South American food is also very tasty, very, very tasty. So that I feel like that would be a bit of a tough decision to make, to choose between LATAM and Italian. But for me, if I were also to choose, by the way, my favorite cuisine ever for right now would be Italian.
Oh yeah, it is. It is really good.
It's just so good. It's just Mediterranean, Italian. It's like a good mix of everything. So you're on a mission, my friend, to bridge the gap when it comes to social inequality, right? And I know you spoke a little bit about your past and kind of where you grew up and how you moved around and everything else. But I just want to ask a bit more about that. Why this mission in particular? Why social inequality in particular to work on out of everything that you could be working on?
Because Yeah, I don't want to generate polemic with the
No,
people
sure.
who believe on the climate change. It's a problem. I know that's a problem.
Yeah.
But to myself, inequality, it is the biggest challenge that we have as a society nowadays. And it is just better to live in a more equal society. I was born in Brazil, grew in Brazil, then in Chile. Even when and even if you have a good life in those countries and have a good and wealthy situation, it is not as nice to live there as it is to live in Europe. Just because Europe is more equal, it is more and attached with that. There's more educated people, more less violence. More social integration. In Italy, for example, I used to talk and I was friends with people that were working in supermarkets there.
Yeah.
And it is so obvious because I used to see them. I really like to eat, so I was every day in the supermarket buying things and buying and this sort of relationship, to develop this sort of relationship as a customer and someone in a retail store, in Italy was just natural and it was so good. In Brazil, that would be impossible because it's a really different reality that people are living in. And so for me, inequality, it is the biggest challenge that we have. And when, as a society, we tackle that, life will be better for everybody. It will be better for poor people, for wealth people, billionaires, because it is just a better society to live in.
Well,
could I answer?
Yeah. No, I mean, there is no right or wrong, my friend. This is, it's a very personal thing, right? Why you choose to work on something. Yeah, incredible. I'm just thinking about what you're saying. I suppose if you think about it in terms of kind of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you've got to make sure that the bottom layers are sorted out, right, before you can move into the upper layers. And so by providing, equality around education and shelter and food and the basics, at the very least the basics first, and then you can start working your way up.
Sure.
It makes a lot of sense.
And the basics should keep on growing, changing, health, education, shelter. More than shelter, home. I mean, shelter, it's really different. So we should have a housing solution for everybody. We have a housing solution for everybody in the world. It's not just distributed at all.
Yeah.
There's so in Italy, there's like this ghost town that there's like this.
There's nobody there.
There's nobody there.
Yeah.
Just nobody there.
Yeah, and it's beautiful, by the way.
It is
like,
beautiful.
Yeah, some of these places are absolutely. I think one of the towns was in Sardinia, if I'm not mistaken, that I was reading about, which is a ghost town, and Sardinia is gorgeous. I mean,
Sardinia, it's just amazing.
Yeah, it's just incredible. Yeah, it's like
how come no one is living there? Yeah, come on, man. Exactly, come on.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
Exactly, yeah.
And later in life, I used to live in a neighborhood in São Paulo. It was a really fancy one. The neighborhood, as all, used to have 3,000 private guards.
Wow.
3,000. It's like a small army.
How big are we talking about this neighborhood? Are we talking
big?
Okay.
2 houses. No, it's myself and the neighbor. No.
My house and my family's house. Yeah.
No.
So when I need a break, I go to my house.
No. It is a really big.
Okay.
Really, really big. It was, big.
But it's still 3,000 private guards. That's a lot of.
That's a lot.
Friend, yeah.
And for sure, it was really secure where we used to live. But I mean, you take one step further from your bubble, and things. It's not so. I mean, it's not nice. It's not.
It's very. It's very. Yeah. It's very is like a bubble, just like you said. It's very kind of protected and shielded from the real world out there.
So
and,
kids, they grow in this bubble when they have the opportunity. So they have good education. They just meet between each other. They don't have other points of view. They don't have better culture. So it's really alienating the way that that the people are growing there. So, and if we have equality.
Yeah.
So instead of paying guards, we should be paying education and access to make more people thrive.
I guess it's a really interesting one. And without getting too deep here, I mean, we could do. But the more I look at history, the more I read history, the more that I see that.
The less you like humans. No.
Well, partly for sure. No, the more that I realize that inequality's always been around in some way, shape, or form, and I really do wonder whether there is. I really do wonder whether there is a possible world where there's genuinely zero inequality. I really do wonder whether that's genuinely, yeah.
I like to dream that there's possible.
Yeah, of course.
So there's enough wealthy for everybody. We can still create much more wealthy. So I think so.
And just because it hasn't happened in history doesn't mean it can't happen now. That would be another argument, right?
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah. I mean, this could go down in history as a a good. I mean, I suppose that the standard of living has definitely increased for the majority of people.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, the majority of people would step outside their home and potentially get beaten up and have their home stolen at one point. And so, I mean, as in there was not much security. It was harder. Life was a lot tougher. Standard of living was a lot worse. And so it's definitely increased for everyone all over the world. But the same way it has increased for people who are less fortunate, it's also increased a lot for the people who are more fortunate. But so the inequality is still there. It's just everything has moved up, if that makes sense. And there are some that are still living at that really crappy standard that was once the case.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would say that overall, as humanity, people are better now than we were 40 years ago.
Yeah, and thank goodness.
Yeah, thank goodness. Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty happy that I was born in this day and age than something else, you know.
Yeah, I prefer this age than the earlier one, but let's hope that the future will
be even better.
Better.
Of course. Yeah. So is this officially you saying you plan to freeze your? No, I'm joking. Pull a Walt Disney and freeze at some point. No, it's incredible, man. I mean, I guess just one thing I want to touch on as well very quickly, because it was a very brief period of your life, but you were a professor at one point. Is that right? Professor of marketing.
Yeah.
At one point.
Yeah.
What was that like? I mean, that's a very different thing to be doing from the world of business. So I'm just curious, like, you know, is there anything that you learned there that you're applying to business now? Or kind of what was that like, just generally?
It was really fun.
Yeah?
It was really, really, really fun. So I was a marketing professor to computer engineers.
Okay.
So it was alternative lecture that they could ask. It was not obligatory.
Awesome.
But it was really fun. So the idea of the lecture was to help engineers, computer engineers, to develop an area of skill that they usually don't have the opportunity to develop within the university.
That's really cool. I think computer science students would probably agree that, you know, having a bit of commercial side would help a lot. So,
and so it was really beautiful experience. It was really, really nice. And also, it's just fun to be in touch with youth, with their ideas and people what they're doing, and it was really. I sounded really like an old fella now.
Exactly.
Really youth. Yeah.
All the young people out there.
But
you definitely sound like a 60-year-old man right now.
So you just cut this part, huh?
Yeah. It will be my pleasure. No, that's incredible, man. I mean, is there anything that you learned from that experience, just going through that you kind of apply in business now, or was that very different to?
No, definitely. I mean, do you know, like, we don't play a lot the roles of teachers and professors. I mean, I think that they are not that well valued by society. It's a really hard job.
Yeah.
To stand every day sometimes, and in front of a crowd, and and guide them through to do something that usually they don't like to, and to learn something out of it, it is really hard. It is really hard. So there's a lot of things that I have learned there on presentation and motivation and interaction with a crowd.
Yeah, wow.
Well, it wasn't that much students, but to manage with people. So everybody that has this opportunity, I will just go for it. You would learn a lot, and also,
I feel like you did it for the perfect amount. Like a year and a half, just like, all right, yeah, done that, learn from it. Thank you very much. I'm going to move on. That's
it wasn't my full-time job at that opportunity.
Okay,
so it was
brilliant.
always a part-time thing, and it's hard. It's a lot of work.
But you're really selling it. It sounds quite incredible, actually. Because I was curious about it, just because it's the main thing that stood out from most of the things you've done have been kind of business, commercial-driven stuff, and then there was this, and I was thinking, I'm just gonna have to ask him about that, because But that's really interesting. You were selling it. You're definitely selling it a lot. That'd be quite a fun job.
You should try. You should try.
Sure, yeah.
You would like it. You would.
I'm sure I'd love it. Yeah, my brother did quite a bit of teaching, and he really enjoyed it. It's a very rewarding experience. Again, one of those areas where you get direct feedback from people you're working
straight
with.
away, and to see how people are changing.
Exactly.
There.
Exactly.
You're seeing the magic there. So it's really cool.
So you did that. You're now where you are now. If you could go back to that point, were they young kids? Were they the youth, as you called them earlier? If you could give them one message now, if you could say one thing to them, what would that be?
I would definitely say believe in yourself. It's a really cliche. Let us say.
I mean, this question, this question is always going to have a bit of a cliche answer. So it's okay, man. You've got the.
But don't be afraid to try. Don't be afraid to fail. As hard as it could be, enjoy failing. It is fun to fail, for sure. When you're in that position, you don't see that. When we were expecting our second child, I was fired from my company.
Wow.
It was a really, really traumatic situation. I remember I left the company. I bought one bottle of whiskey and
not champagne this time.
No, not champagne. I did something harder at that time, and it was really hard, the situation. But I have really vivid memories of that time yet today, because it was really important and helped me to challenge myself, to do something different, to go for another areas of expertise, to develop something new. So I mean, it's really when you're failing, it's really hard, but just try to enjoy it. Because you're going to succeed most of the time. So just enjoy when you fail. It's a nice opportunity you have to live something different.
Wow. So enjoy the failure as much as you enjoy everything else, part of the process.
Yeah.
My friend, I think that's a perfect note to end on. Thank you so much, Rodrigo, for making the time today. Thank you for coming on. Thanks for coming all the way from Brighton to come up and have this conversation. And I cannot wait to see Medible go. I was about to say I can't wait to see Medible go to amazing places, but I can't wait to see Medible go to amazing places as well. Is there anything else that you'd like to say before we go? Is there anything else that you wanted to mention that we didn't touch on today?
No, all mentioned.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Mo.
Pleasure,
you
man.
have done a really good research and asking a lot of things. So thanks for that. Thanks for your time, and thanks for having me. It was a real pleasure.
It was my pleasure too. I'm sure we'll have you again at some point in the future, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you.
All the best. That was Good for Profit with your host, Mo. Thank you very much for listening. To support us, please like, share, subscribe, and send it to whoever you think will benefit from this episode or will be interested in listening to it. We are, of course, in the early days and we're trying to grow the podcast. And so every share and every like and every comment does go a very long way for us. So thank you very much for listening. And if you have any feedback, please let us know if you'd like certain topics covered, or if you have entrepreneurs or investors or ecosystem leaders that you'd like to see on the podcast, feel free to get in touch with us. The link will be in the description below this episode, where you can leave feedback and also get in touch with us to let us know if there's somebody you'd like to see on the pod. Even if you have no direct connection with them, just let us know and our team will get on it to try and get them on here. Thank you very much for listening once again, and hope to see you in the next one.